What is up, everybody? Oh, it's Friday. Hope you're having a nice Friday. And kind of boring. I think boring is a good word around here. Been doing some chores around the house, got some work done. Took a nap, slept for way too long. Now I feel extra tired. So I'm trying to get out of that funk, that stupor. We're gonna be working on a tank again. Excited. Jimmy Norris, what's up, dude? Yeah, Quinn. Yeah, so last time we started working on our Tallarn project. Kind of doing this tank standalone before we go into mass production mode. So this is our proof of concept tank for what all the other ones are going to look like. Our little hellhound right here. So last time we did our base paint color, which is this nice like khaki tan, and then we did our camo, which I used some, what is this called? Dark golden brown and some dark blue gray to create our camo stripes. Very cool, very striking, very unique. Then we did some dry brushing. So just to kind of fill out the khaki and then some of the details around where our camo stripes are, we did some dry brushing just to initially pop some of those details. So the next thing I want to do is I need to cut in some other details to kind of keep with that Imperial Guard look. So I might do a couple of these panels, a different color, maybe like a red. I've seen that a lot, maybe like a red with a stripe on it before we do our decals. Because if if you're unfamiliar with decal stuff, you want to do everything that is like paint, quote unquote, paint on the model as if it were real before putting your decals on. And then after your decals are on is when you want to start doing any type of weathering. So like washes, if you even if you're not going to do like weathering in the sense of like paint chipping or any of that stuff, if you want to do just like a light wash to pick out the details, you want to put your decals on before that. So everything looks like it is paint on the fictional vehicle and universe, and it's all done um, relatively at the same time. So I want to pull up some reference stuff just to see. Um, and then we can kind of decide. I think what I want to do is at least one of these turret panels as like a red, maybe with like a stripe on it or something. Um, let's see. Real guard, Tallarn tank. Let's see what we get here. I know there's a lot of really cool reference material from like old White Dwarf magazines and like Imperial Armor books, but sometimes those are kind of hard to find. So here's one. It's Lehman Russ. So the panel is like in three equal parts of red and white, like a white stripe, a red stripe, and a white stripe. That's something that could be cool. Um, some of them do kind of like this forward triangle, but I think that's just because the Lehman Russ has like a panel in that shape cut in, since ours doesn't have that. Let me see here. Let's go to the old Lexicanum. Usually a pretty good place to find pictures from the Imperial Armor stuff. Let's see. Gonna go to camouflage schemes. Maybe that's the right way. Tank camo schemes. Oh, very nice. Here we go. Here we go. All right. There's another one with that uh, red and white pattern. So that could be cool. There's one with just like white panels that might also look nice. Kind of like a gray white. See if I can find one from Tallarn. They're just kind of random. List of regiments. Here we go. Oh my god, there's so many. Let's go down to T's. God, there's a billion of these. Need to the art. There we go. Oh, Tallarn Desert Raiders. Let's go. Show me tanks. Any tanks? Nope. Oh, here we go. So at least on this regiment, what are these guys? The Tallarn 3rd, they don't have any of those panels. I mean, like, so I guess you could do whatever you want. Because, like, so the Tallarn, like, all the Astro Militarum regiments are typically, like, deployed somewhere. So unless they happen to be deployed to like a desert theater of war, which is kind of like their wheelhouse, right? Maybe it wouldn't necessarily be desert camo, but I imagine that um, they would paint their stuff in whatever camo was fitting. Well, god damn, Lexicanum let me down. Yeah. Let's see, here's some second edition ones. Basically just desert schemes. I guess maybe those red panels are kind of like reserved for like specific regiments in the lore. Maybe that's what those are for, so like I shouldn't do those. Yeah, I mean like we're kind of looking for ways to like spiff it up. What's up everybody? Coming in from Next Level Painting Raid. We're just discussing ammo patterns. Very exciting. Trying to wake up a little bit. Took a nap right before this and I'm all dreary. All right. So let's nix that idea. Let's do maybe, well, I kind of like that off-white panel idea. So let's try one of those. I'm gonna grab some red gray. Very interesting color, but I'm gonna use that to kind of reset a little bit. What's up, Kramus? How's it going, dude? Thanks again for your help at the doubles. Don't be angry about Eldar, dude. You'll be fine. This is a Hellhound. It's from an online artist, so this is printed out. Their handle is in like the letter N in Feyma, N-F-E-Y-M-A. Let's do this panel right here. It'll be fine, dude. I played against the new Eldar at TNF last night, and even though I lost, it's not that bad. I will say that I think I haven't looked up the other hosts too much. I've only been interested in the aspect host because that's what I want to play. So I will say this: the aspect host is probably going to be very popular. It has a very solid set of rules. None of their rules feel unfair, and it's all stuff we've seen before. Like, yes, they have like the battle focus, and that's kind of a new mechanic, but the stuff that they do is all stuff that we've seen before. So it's nothing like crazy or game breaking. So my two takeaways is that one, the meta is just gonna have to change as it does, you know, when something new happens. So you're gonna have to shift things around a little bit to deal with Eldar. And I don't think Eldar is going to be that strong in the hands of somebody who's not very good at like order of operations and like managing their army well. It's very complicated. There's a lot of stuff that you have to keep track of, and it's not like just shove and win. So like Index 10th edition Eldar was kind of just shove and win. Like this doesn't feel like that. If you mess up, you're really hurt. Like they're strong units like the Dark Reapers and the Dire Avengers. If you don't play them correctly, they will die super easily, and they are very expensive. They're very strong offensively, but very weak defensively. And if you mess up, it can ruin the whole battle for you. So I would say I'm more worried about people not properly organizing their stuff on the table for Eldar, which is gonna I think that is gonna lead to more feels bads than anything else. Because if you have people that are lazy or play really sloppily, I think that's where there's gonna be problems. Because like your aspects have aspect shrine tokens, and those are once per game when you use them. And so like you need to have aspect tokens because those are really important. Like you can't just be pulling aspect tokens out of your ass, right? There's the battle focus tokens, and like you need to keep track of those. And you know, there's already issues where like if somebody just has like a random dice on the table, they're like, this is my CP dice, and that can sometimes be lost track of. So it's going to be similar thing with like battle focus dice, where it's like, oh, these are my battle focus dice, and you know, by turn 3, it's like, where's all your battle focus dice? Like, oh, I forgot, like I haven't been putting them out, and it's like, well, How many battle focuses have you used? Because you only get 4. And, you know, when do those triggers actually happen? Because that's really important. So it's like, I'm more worried about having to like manage my opponent's Eldar stuff than I am like their rules. The scale no, this it's a 40k proxy. My hellhound. Well, you have booked it. You have the book points, and so you can kind of draw some inference. I still haven't memorized them, but I made a spreadsheet last night. A lot of their stuff is like chunks of like 110, 120, 130, 140. Some of their stuff is a little bit cheaper, but it's still like 75, 85, you know, and it's, keep in mind, a lot of their stuff is like a 4-up armor save on a toughness 3 model with 1 wound. Who's that? ULV Jagger, thanks for that follow. Let's see if I can pull up my spreadsheet real quick while I wait for this paint to dry. Sheets. Okay, right. So 10 Dire Avengers is 140. And then Azurman is 120. So that unit is 260 points. Then they only really work, especially with like the way that our terrain is right now, where everything revolves around being behind or inside of those footprints inside of a building. You want a Wave Serpent. It's also like Azurman's ability lets them do a battle focus move for free. So you want to be able to like stage a Wave Serpent, move, shoot, move back into the Wave Serpent, right? So that's another 120 points. And like, don't get it twisted. When you have overlapping abilities like Doom and +1 AP and Ignore Cover, and the Dire Avengers get out and they pop their Shrine, which is a once per game thing, so they can only do it once. They're getting all the juice, right? All the lethals, all the sustains, like everything. +1 to wound from Doom. Like, they'll kill God, for sure. Or they'll get really close, right? And then they get back into the Wave Serpent. And that's like their one big thing. And so what that means is that, well, now you just have to have a way of changing your list to deal with stuff in Wave Serpents. That's not saying that Wave Serpents are like really easy to get rid of, but like there's tools, like, you know, they're not unkillable. They're slightly tougher than a Rhino as far as the math goes. The other thing is that like all of the units are, maybe at least I'd say like the one thing that isn't a precious unit is maybe like Rangers. Or if you're playing like the Guardian host, maybe like a single unit of Guardians isn't really precious, but like all of their stuff is very elite, very precious, and you want to make sure that like if you are gonna lose that unit, they do something really important before they die, because you don't really have a lot of units where I can just like throw trash out over and over and over again, and you just like, okay, I block your primary on this objective, and then you kill that unit. Like you can only do that like one time, and then the other team is going to start snowballing. And a lot of the defense of stuff has been stripped out. So like Warwalkers used to be really annoying. Like they're not nearly as tough now. Things like the Incarn is, I would say, pretty nerfed compared to where she was. Like she still slaps real hard in combat, but her teleport works in a different way that is not nearly as beneficial to the player. She doesn't half damage anymore. I'd say that like if you're just like a vanilla Space Marine player, elves can be pretty scary, but that's not saying much because kind of like everything kills Space Marines really easily these days. So yeah, is what it is. If I was playing Necrons like you, one plus saves, like I'd be like, ah, like you will be fine. Oh yeah, Liberius Conclave has an interesting set of rules. It's not really my style, but it's got some play, sure. Light neutral gray. It's one of my favorite off-white colors to work with. Lets you get something that reads as white without going into pure white. Because typically, you never want to paint with pure white paint on your models. I try it for a second. Do another coat. Um, Only like finishing highlights would ever use pure white. You want something that's kind of like a almost white gray as your lightest color, and then the eye will read that as white in contrast to all the other colors in the model. Don't call me. A little bit. The trick is on a lot of vehicles, especially the rougher ones like the Imperial Guard tanks. You don't have to be perfectly opaque and smooth. So that's kind of why I'm doing these little kind of dabs and circular motions with my brush as I'm putting in these coats, because I want these colors to modulate a little bit. Because you have to think, like, even if this was done at a factory, let's just say, it's probably painted by hand or with like a paint spray gun. And so it can get pretty close to good, but it's not going to be perfect the way that, like, your F-150 is painted at the Ford factory, right? It's not going to be perfect. Or, which is more likely, this is all field mods done by the crew. And so if you've ever seen a tank up close, the paint is pretty gnarly. And that doesn't mean you can go ham and be all fucking sloppy paint outside the lines. But it does mean that, like, as you're painting in this panel, you can modulate that color a little bit with thick spots and thin spots, especially like around like these edges or around these rivets, like where it would be harder to paint that stuff. I can leave that paint a little thin and have that red gray kind of peeking through. All right, let's let that dry. Go over it one more time. Some really thin paint to kind of even it out. Yeah, and so kind of like I want to do like maybe like a stripe on this one in the middle, but it's just a way for also like a good place for decals, so we can get a nice solid like numbered decal up there. Yeah, dude. Tanks in real life are like never truly clean. They're all kind of gross and scuffed. The paint is almost always really bad. Goliath games, yes, yes, it is. I just draw a lot of painting inspiration from scale modeling when it comes to tanks and stuff. So there's a bit of a difference between your sort of like more grim and gritty, realistic Imperial Guard stuff and the more kind of like wild and crazy sci-fi stuff of your Space Marines. But it's all 40K. Good. There's one little spot right here. Maybe it's because I reactivated it by accident. Get that spot kind of covered. Okay. Oh yeah, that was my Dante. Dusty. It's been on the shelf for a bit. So I decided a while back that like all my Space Marines are going to be one thing, which is Ultramarines. So even though this guy's a Blood Angels character, I painted him in kind of like an Ultramarinified way. So they all kind of have that blue steel and with some like Ultramarines bits on them. Uh, and even the crazier stuff like the Sanguinor, also a little dusty. Um, in that same kind of color scheme with the blue and silvers. I don't have any of my Ultramarine. Oh, I have one actually. I don't know. I keep forgetting I have this like solitary aggressor that I put on my desk for some reason. I just keep forgetting to put him in the case, but got my Ultramarines. Usually I have like a couple of Ultramarine characters on the desk to keep me company, but they're all in a case because I've been playing them. All right. I want this section to get a little bit more dry. A little bit more dry. Let's see. Might have a trick for this. Sometimes this works with water-based paints. I don't even know if the camera is picking this up, but I'm just passing rubbing alcohol, just iso alcohol through the airbrush really lightly onto this area. Not enough for it to ever get wet or build up where it might pool, but enough to where that alcohol is going to kind of force evaporate and help that water content in the paint evaporate real fast. Yeah, so it looks dry now. Oop, Goliath Games gifting a sub out. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's do like a maybe red. Red would look cool. Okay, that looks like it'll work. A little masking tape on there. Teensy bit. Then what I want is a piece of foam. And my tweezers. Where is the old self-closing tweezers? Ha. So a little piece of foam. Get that into self-closing tweezers. Some red paint. And I'm going to dab most of that off on a paper towel. I'm going to be very gentle here. So that I'm only going to end up touching this top surface. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't really want a whole lot of moisture. Because I don't want any of that to work its way underneath our masking tape. And for this front part, we can use the brush. Get some air from the airbrush. Try to speed dry it. All right, don't peel the paint. Don't peel the paint. Ooh. Perfect. Yeah, now what I want to do is get a little bit of our white paint. Kind of around this edge. Kind of on this rivets. Tiny little dots and dashes kind of creeping into this line. There we go. Just to help that look like, you know, you have white paint on top of the factory camo, then you have the red paint on top of the white paint, a little chipping around there to kind of help it out. Looking pretty good. Again, I'm just going to do a very light pass of some iso alcohol. Again, I'm not letting it build up to be like pooling wet. It's also a great way to very lightly clear off stubborn particles of dust. Okay. Just a good way of keeping everything nice and clean. Might be a little bit of oil trapped on the model from my fingers, but not very much. Not enough to matter. So what I want to do now is just a light coat of varnish. Where is... I could have sworn, but I had more bottles of this. Hold on. Yeah, maybe I did go through all of it already. Well, damn. Get some of our glossy varnish. I usually use satin, but gloss is fine too. We just don't want too much of it. Makes me mad because I just made an Amazon order for supplies. So I'm gonna have to make another one for my varnish. Alright, try to grip these by the tracks. That's more than good enough. Make sure to clean out the airbrush nice and good. Don't want any of that varnish drying up inside of it. And while that's kind of taking its time to get dry, we can cut out our decals. So we've got Hero Guard. Let's see. Put one out there. Okay. What else we got here? Should have like some smaller eagles. Try to kind of visualize where some of these could go. I think I only want that one thing from that sheet. Those. Some good ones. I like these because they are like pre-paint chipped. Now they're hard to see right now, but they're just white colored. Let's see, we can make a larger number 58 is by combining two of them. That might be a good place to put on like the turret. A bunch of these red numbers, I think those will be very striking with our color scheme. And kind of like that idea for the Tallarn third armored. So let's find one that would work. That number 3 would work. If it was like a unit insignia. Also goes well with that red thing that we put in there. And then do one of these. That is cool. I always like having my little cushion things. There we go. Be a good one for our flamethrower. Maybe on this thing as like a no step almost. You can do as few or as much of these as you want. I want like a good handful of them, but I don't want to go crazy. And every tank will take forever. Sometimes if a whole decal doesn't work, you can take part of it. So I kind of want like a little crew-made emblem for the tank. So I can repurpose one of these Cast Night decals. Let's see, so it probably needs to go on this side. I think in this little guy right here. All right. Put these away. Yeah. The artist that made these kind of has that style, which I really liked. Let's start with this little guy. Some water in there, and then we're gonna get our decal softener, setting solution. It's a product called Micro Sol, Micro Set. And Micro Sol is just a softener, so after I get that water in there, I just want to kind of brush this on. Get some of that kind of mixed in there. It's gonna help it like cut down on the shine. It's gonna help it stretch if I need it to. Just makes handling decals a little bit easier. For some reason, these night decals take a lot longer to like lift up than the other GW stuff. I don't know why. It's almost like they went with a different company or something. It's weird. All the other GW decals go really fast. Let's see. Let this guy chill out for a second. gonna be like that, huh? There we go. A little bit of our set solution. Very gently brush that on. Go. Looks nice. Okay. Let's see if this guy's ready to cooperate. Oh, a little bit of water. Sometimes that micro sol can kind of discolor the varnish. So just want to brush that out with some water while it dries. Oh, I got water all over this, so I guess this is the next one. Come on, you. Right. Again. I've just been using the microsol and microset for so long. It's just what I'm used to. So Tiger, no, this is a tank for Warhammer 40k. It's a fictional sci-fi tank that happens to look a little historical, but I want to say that the artist has a lot of French in their design philosophy. Uh, their handle is the letter N, Feyma in Fema. They have a page over on Colts 3D. Their tanks are very like kind of a mashup of the European designs, but there's a lot of French influence to them. Like a lot of like these stuff like these ribbed whatever fenders and all of the suspension. They have stuff like this is the turret, but they have a much bigger tank that I'm using as a Rogel Dorn. There's a lot of like real like curves plates to it, which the Germans never adopted until more recently. It's just kind of that vibe, right? So like a lot of tanks in World War II had a similar like design philosophy because the technology was very similar across the various nations. And the Imperial Guard in 40K draws a lot of inspiration from the kind of like World War II design philosophy of armor warfare. So they have like older looking tanks, even though it's a sci-fi universe. Oh, this decal's being a real bastard. Okay, I'm gonna fucking chill out, dude. Wanting to wrinkle up on me. Stop moving. I think this guy can go like right here. Be a good one. Decals from Haiku parts are usually pretty good. They're a little beefier, which can make them kind of a pain to get a varnish over them, but if you soften them up enough, they work great. Looking good there. That's set. And we've got this little set of numbers. I want this kind of on the rear somewhere. Maybe on this door. Will it fit? Yeah, it'll fit. Ooh, I thought it would fit. It's not fitting. So let's put it here. Micro set on there. bet our number 58 will stick on that door, though. That's a good place for it. So I think with these, I don't want to use the softener until I already get it on the model. These guys were from Bandai. They were wanting to wrinkle up. Let's just use water. And then I know this hazard stripe one is going to take forever to come off of that paper, so I'm just going to get some water into that as well. Set that aside. Same thing for this number. Just go ahead and start those kind of like lifting up off of that paper. Softener do its work. This is like just barely wanting to come on, just barely wanting to not fit between these rivets. There we go. Some softener on there. Let that do its work. Okay. Go right there, probably. There we go, looking good. All right, then we got these last two kind of big numbers to go on the turret. These are cool. These are the pre-chipped ones. Mechist Tech, what's up? I almost lost my number here. Or did I? Oh no. Oh no. Number 8. Where'd you go? Fell off the desk. Wait, found it. Where's this effects this time? Gosh dang it. Is it like fell off there? I didn't even notice hitting it with my hand or anything. Oh well. I got more. Just cut another one real quick. Got these little like bars. Those are cool. Get a couple of those. All right. Oh, we've all been there. Paint paralysis. All right, that looks close enough for government work. Yeah, I mean you gotta want it. Even me, like I have to have kind of like a goal. I have to have something I'm excited about. I never just like paint to fill time. I always have like a goal in mind. That's usually like being able to play with models that I've bought. 'Cause I don't play with stuff that's not painted. I can play with stuff that's unfinished. Like if I get something battle ready, I can play with it. But a long time ago, I decided that I would never just like build gray plastic and play with it because that leads to never painting your models. And that was like when I was younger and before I started going to tournaments and stuff. So like now, like my models have to be battle ready to play in tournaments. So I have that motivation. And so if I just paint the stuff when I get it, That way I can make sure that it's battle ready so I can play it in tournaments and stuff. And it also stops from like, oh, I like never painted this, unit of assault marines and the tournament's tomorrow. Like I never have that situation because I do not play with stuff until it's painted. So that's always a good motivator for me. Looking good, looking good. Kind of feel like we need something on this little white panel on the side. Let me see if I can find a tiny little decal to put there. It'd be smooth enough. This little guy right here. Let's see. So that's too big. This 3 might be. What I want to do is just get the 3. So I'm gonna have to slice this one. That do its thing. And this should fit, right? Yeah, looks like it. Okay. Ooh, perfect. Absolutely perfect sizing. Look at that. Looks great. Oh, all those decals look so tight. Really transforms the tank. It's really cool. All right. Highly recommend viewers go find a website that will ship to you that sells Bandai products. Bandai, they make like Gundam models and scale models and all that kind of stuff, right? They make really, really, really good decals. And they make decals that Games Workshop doesn't. So especially for things like vehicles, they have things like the caution stripes and the like little I call them technical decals where you can like put it on a door and it says like warning, or like little barely legible script that would be spray painted on something. Just it helps everything look more like real. Letters, numbers. Bandai makes these ones that are the pre-paint chipped ones. You see how they're all like pre-scratched up? Those are great for all vehicles. If I wanted to, I could go around and I could do a ton of little decals. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So So like this is an example. Look at all those bars and hazard stripes. So really good for that. So that sheet just grabbed it. Stuff like this. See these little like technical stickers? Like those look great on vehicles, like engine components, big old guns on stuff, like all those types of like, manufacturer or like factory like labels that would be on stuff like, hey idiot, like don't step on this, or like, you know, don't use pneumatic tools on these bolts, like anything like that, right? That you can imagine would be on a vehicle. Those types of decals are great. I use new type, NEW type HQ. That's a great one. They're a West Coast distributor for import stuff like Bandai stuff. There's like the Bandai ones, the red numbers, these. It's from a company called HiQ Parts. You can find those. Um, there's a website called Gundam Planet. That's a really good one. They're out of Jersey. They ship really fast, so I get, excuse me, I get stuff from them sometimes. It doesn't take very long, maybe like 4 or 5 days here on the West Coast from them. There's a bunch. I mean, like if you just type in like Gundam decal, Bandai decal, scale model decal, stuff like that, you'll be able to find sites where that sells them, and they're cheap. Like, $3, $4, $5 for a sheet, really cheap. Which is nice because like the problem with Games Workshop is you can't just buy decals from them. I think that's such a dumb thing. Where like, hey, Games Workshop, I would give you money if you would just sell a Ultramarines decal sheet or a really big, full of stuff Imperial Guard decal sheet for all my tanks. Like, I would give you money, right? Because Games Workshop makes pretty good decals. Like at the end of the day, like they're pretty tight. The problem is they don't sell them. Like the only way to get them is you have to buy the kit, so you have to buy on eBay, and it's like this whole thing. So I usually just go with stuff, and then like if you want stuff that's not in universe, because sometimes the in universe decals like aesthetically are not what you want. So like the quality is nice, but sometimes they look dumb, or it's not the vibe that you want. Like these kind of like more artistry embossed numbers that you see on modern tanks, stuff like that. Like Games Workshop doesn't make those, so you have to step outside of that. Or if you want like you've seen a lot of my vehicles where I use the Gundam decal where it has like squadron markings that are really cool, like modern military units use, or they have like nose art pinups and things of that nature. Like Games Workshop just doesn't make those, and they never will. All right, got some solid work done. Tank is looking tight. So as per usual, anytime I do decals, I'm gonna lay them all down, brush on some of that micro sol, let them soften, and I'm just gonna let it set overnight. So that's a good place to end the work sesh. Because as these dries, like fumes of that chemical process are going to evaporate off, and I want those to just fully evaporate, and then tomorrow I can come back, hit it with a coat of varnish, and just keep on paint. And then by the time you're like 2 or 3 more protective coats of varnish in throughout the painting process, all plasticky shine from those is going to be completely gone. Because I like to protect the paint as much as possible and keep a consistent painting surface. So I'll do a varnish over this. I'll do all my weathering, all my washes and everything. I'll seal that in with another coat of varnish, do any like last second details, and then seal that in as well. Varnish, I use Lucky Varnish. It's by Ammo by MIG. Let's see that, a MIG. This is pre-thinned for the airbrush. It's really great stuff. I'm constantly running out of it because I use it so much. The matte is really good. The gloss is really good. The satin is my favorite. I think the satin is great. It's not too shiny, not too dull. It's like perfect for game pieces. Or you can just go with the matte. The matte works great as well. That's my preferred one. I don't. I gave these a try. I tried out the AK varnishes. They work okay, but my problem with these is that you have to dilute them. And I feel like I can never get the proper perfect ratio. And you have to use thinner. And I don't, you know that I don't like using paint thinner in the airbrush. It dries out too fast. It creates goopiness. I'm not a fan. So I prefer the Lucky Varnish because it's just like you pop the top, pour it in there, and spray. It's like ready to go. Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I use the gloss on this from the Lucky Varnish right before putting the decals on. And even then, it's like if you do it lightly, it doesn't really shine. Like as I turn it through the light, you can see that it's not particularly shiny. Um, and neither is like the satin is not shiny. Like you really, really have to build it up thick for it to have that shine. Um, and the matte works great. What I like to do for these decals that have a like a little bit of a thick shine to them is I'll hit them with a satin. It tends to not fog the way that matte does. So I'll hit them with a satin. I'll do all my weathering, all my washes and everything. And that's when I do the matte. Or maybe like a final coat of satin, and that'll get rid of all that decal shine. Yeah, this stuff is pre-thinned, and you can see it's like I don't know if you can see it. It might yeah, there's a mixing ball in there. So this stuff is like airbrush ready. Yeah, see, no thinning needed. It's great stuff. All right, well, it's tight. I'm gonna get out of here for the evening. Let's set up a raid. See who's on there. Who's on? Let's see who's this. Crucial Blue? Never seen them on before. So let's raid them, see what they're up to. And I will be back next week on Tuesday. Hope you guys have a nice weekend. Set up this raid and get out of here.